So hey everyone, as I'm recording this in a new setup, it's my balcony, so you may hear some noises, so I do apologize for that in advance. But let's talk about one of the videos that I uploaded a couple of weeks ago about renewing my Nepalese passport and traveling all the way to Canberra to do that. So I have renewed it and I got it in like a month's time of wait after applying, and here's my thoughts. So let me first show you the original passport. This is how it looks, and this is the new and updated. So apart from the color, what's the difference? Well, the first difference that you would see is on the very first page, if I can show, if you can see here. Yeah, this right here, if you lift this up, so this would have all the details on the next page. And it literally is like a SIM card type of material. You know how hard, tough plastic kind of material the SIM card would have? It's like that. I hope you could hear that, but yeah, that's the only difference, and it looks and feels new. I'm not going to be showing you page by page because it has my details and whatnot, but yeah, that's literally the difference. There's nothing else. It's not going to grant you some special things if you were hoping. It's the color is the difference, and I do kind of dig the brown color, but if I had to choose, I would still stick with the green color. And the internals, I'm happy with this new passport, but the color of the external, I would be happy with the green. I don't know, it's just personal preference. But again, similar to what I stated in my other video, it was pretty much the same experience now as well. So when I entered the offices of the Nepalese embassy, there was no one at the reception this time around as well. But compared to the last time, this time there was an FPOS machine, and yes, there was a surcharge of 1.10% or something. So if you were paying, the renewal fee is 230 Australian dollars per applicant, so add 1.10% on that and you would be paying that in total if you were to pay by card. But this does help a lot in terms of people who do not have enough cash or who forgot to bring cash, they could just easily tap their cards and pay it, because you would have to renew your passport anyways, right? Because it's the most important thing that you have and you need for traveling. That's a good thing that they've added, because when I went there for my passport renewal a month or two ago, they didn't have that machine. It was cash payment only. Even when I called them before I went to Canberra to renew my passport, they told me bring 230 Australian dollars in cash because they do not accept card payments. That's literally what they told me, which is why I said what I did in my past video. But it's very good that they now do have an FPOS machine, because last time there was a guy who didn't have enough cash and he was like asking anyone and everyone there if they had $50 to give to him, and he was willing to transfer it to their nominated bank account. But because nobody had the extra cash, because everyone was just bringing $230 for their application, no one had any extra to give to them. And not because they didn't trust that person, but because they didn't have any extra. And because the ATM is not in the premises, you would have to find the nearest ATM, which would be a bit far away. So it's not very ideal. So it's very good that they added the FPOS machine. The one thing that they still have not solved is they still only have one public computer that the people who come there to renew their passport can use if they need to print certain documents, or if they misplaced or lost certain documents. The time you would have to wait is insane, because it's only one computer. There would be many applicants there coming to renew their passports, so that's a whole lot of mess. In my case, in the older video, as I mentioned, there was a QR code form, there was a form which had a QR code in it. It was said that I didn't need to print that because I could just have that QR code on my phone and I could show it to them and that would be completely fine. But when I went there, and when the receptionist finally did come in about a month or two ago when I was there to renew it, they told me that I needed to print it because they need that. And I told them that, it says you don't need to print it as long as you have the QR code on your phone. And they were like, no. And I had to waste 15 to 20 minutes, if not more. I didn't keep track of the time, but I had to wait a lot for my turn to come. But yeah, regardless, the maximum time you would have to spend there to renew your passport and to complete all the biometrics and everything is maybe 1 to 2 hours if you're there on time, if you have everything printed beforehand, if you don't misplace or lose anything, if you're covered on the cash side of the things, prepared even if the FPOS machine is down or something like that, then you would be out of there maybe in 45 minutes if you're on time and if everything is happening smoothly. But the maximum is 1 to 2 hours. And I went there this time with my friends because my friends had to renew their passport and I had to collect mine. So we went there and I instantly went to the reception and they pointed me to the person that I need to chat with to collect my passport. Obviously, I needed to take my existing passport. They canceled my existing passport and gave me the new one. Obviously, the passport number did change. So the passport number here is different to this one. It's not the same, but they do write in this new passport the old passport number as well. But anywhere in any application or documentation where you might need to provide your passport number, once you get the new one, you need to enter the new passport number. You don't need to enter the old one. But yeah, so collecting the passport was very quick. I think I waited maybe 5 minutes and I collected it and I was completely done. My friends who were there to renew their passport for the first time, they went in about 45 minutes to an hour. They were done as well. It was just one person and we were out and we started exploring Canberra. We had been to Canberra many times in the past and there was nothing to explore, but there was this festival called Floriade that was happening. So we went there, had food, and then we came back to Sydney. But that was pretty much it. The experience was very good. I'm being very nitpicky on everything that I've pointed out. It's very smooth and efficient regardless of everything I've said. But in terms of being clear in the messaging and communication, I would still say the Nepalese embassy in Canberra, they need to, like before the applicant comes in, tell them what document they need to print or not print. Tell them what they should have it, because otherwise, they're going to be lost. Some people come from Sydney, some people come from New Zealand. As I've mentioned in my other video, there was one person back then, a month or two ago, who came all the way from New Zealand. And if the communication is not right, they would have to go back all the way to New Zealand to get that document and come back to Canberra because there is no other embassy. It's only in Canberra. And that's pretty stupid. And there is a consulate in North Sydney, and I did call them and ask, why don't we have an offices here? It's very hard to travel all the way to Canberra when we're working and everything. And they were like, oh, we don't have the biometric system, we can't acquire it, and all that jargon. And I thought maybe it's a very massive machine that it's going to be very hard to transport and everything. But when I went for my passport renewal, they were in the backyard there was an office and they would take photos, see if all the details were correct or not, and do the biometrics. I thought that the biometrics machine was really big, something maybe too expensive and all that thing. But all it was a USB stick looking thing which was connected to their USB port in the computer, and it was like a fingerprint sensor. That's it. And the fingerprint sensor was the size of a USB stick, and that was it. And I was like, this is not too hard to transport. This should not be that expensive. So why can't we have this one tiny thing in Sydney, and the same offices could be open there as well? And Sydney people could do it in Sydney, New Zealand people could do it in New Zealand. I don't know if there are any other barriers that need to be overcome before they could set up an embassy in Sydney or New Zealand or different states in Australia. But rather than just having it in Canberra, I think it would be very good to open it in all the different states, because biometrics might not be the only thing stopping it. Because that's what I was told by the North Sydney consulate people, that the biometrics machine is very hard to get. We do not have that, and the only thing that was spinning in my head was maybe it's very costly, maybe it's too big to transport, but none of that was true. It was one tiny, the length of a USB stick connected to their computer, and had a red screen or something where you put your finger and it collects your fingerprint, and that's pretty much it. So if there is a possibility that this could be made available in Sydney and all the other states so that people could do it where they live, where it's going to be closer for them, then I think it would be very better, because do note that there are many people who would have to take off their workday or something like that and have to travel a lot of kilometers to get to the embassy just for the sake of renewing the passport, and it's going to be a hassle. So ideally this should be open in all the major cities in different states so that people have more flexibility. But I'm going to leave it at that. So here it is, the new passport, the old passport. Thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.